Hey guys, so here's the notes for section 4. We're going to be talking about point-slope form. So you'll be able to write a linear equation in point-slope form and graph a linear equation in point-slope form. Okay, so let's talk about what is point-slope form. So for a non-vertical, so remember, make sure when we have non-vertical, that means the slope is undefined. So we can either have a horizontal or a diagonal line. So if we have a non-vertical line through the point x sub 1, y sub 1, so that's a point on the graph, with slope m, the point-slope form of a linear equation is y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. So why is this called point-slope form? Well, remember, because, we will have the slope, and because we are going to have a point that is on that line. So that's why it's called point-slope form. Okay, because you'll have a point and the slope. Okay, let's look at our first example. We're going to write the point-slope form. So I'm going to write the general form. So y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. Okay. So we're going to write it in point-slope form of an equation for each line passing through the given point and having the given slope. So we have negative 2, 7, and then m, which is our slope, equals negative 1/3. So I'm going to label. So m is our slope. And then remember we have x sub 1 and y sub 1. Those are our points. So now, using that information, I'm going to plug it into my formula. Now you might be wondering, what about y and x? Well, we just keep it as y and x. We still have to have those variables. So I'm going to have y, now minus y sub 1. So I have a minus of negative 2 equals our m, which is the slope, negative 1/3. We keep x, and then minus x sub 1. So we have minus 7, since 7 is y sub 1. So let me redo that there. Actually, it should be y. We need to do our y sub 1 first, excuse me. So we're going to have minus 7, there we go, equals, so our slope was correct, negative 1/3. Then we have x minus our x sub 1. In this case, our x sub 1 is negative 2. So minus a negative 2. Now remember, when we have two negatives, what happens there? It becomes a positive. So I'm going to kind of redo this so it's all simplified. So I have y minus 7, negative 1/3. And then where I see those two negatives, I make it a positive. So x plus 2. Okay? And so then my point-slope form, given the point and the slope, is right here. Okay, let's do that again, but we're going to do it when we are given a graph. So we're going to write the point-slope form of an equation for the given line. So what we need to find is the slope and a point that is on the line. Now remember, our formula is y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. So let's find the slope, m. Now the nice part here, to find the slope, we could use the slope formula, but since we're given the graph, it's actually a lot easier to count. Okay, so we're going to use the 2 points that they show us. You can see them, and I'm going to darken them with the blue. Now remember, slope is rise over run, okay? So rise means we're either going to go up or down, and then run means we're going horizontally. So reading our graph left to right, it looks like going from the point of negative 1, negative 2, I go up 1, 2, then, so since I went up is positive, so that 2's going to be positive. Now I'm going to the right to the other point, so I go over 1, 2, 3. And right, remember, is positive as well. So my slope is going to be 2/3 here, okay? So remember, up and right are positive, down and left are negative. Now our last thing is to use one of the points that was on our graph. So the points that we have are negative 1, negative 2, and then we also have, it looks like, 2, 0. Now the good thing is you can use either points as your final answer. So, kind of writing this out, I'm going to kind of show you both answers here. So we could have the answer as, so we do y minus y sub 1. I'm going to use the point of -1, -2. So I have minus a -2 equals our slope is 2/3 times our x minus x sub 1. In this case, it's -1. So minus of -1. I'm going to simplify this. I get y plus 2 equals 2/3 x plus 1. So that could be one of my answers. Or, so here I could have y minus or y sub 1, which is 0, equals, our slope stays the same, so it's going to be 2/3, and then x minus our x sub 1, in this case 2, so minus 2. So this could be also our answer here, okay? So when you're putting it in point slope form, if they give you 2 points, you could have different answers, just depending on which point you use, okay? But both of these are correct, and you just have to choose one of those. Okay, so for our last one, once again, we're going to write in point slope form, but this time we're given just 2 points. So just like we did last time, we need to find the slope, and then using that and using one of the points, put it into that point slope form. Remember, point slope form is y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. Okay? So using my points, I need to find slope. So remember, slope is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Okay, I'm going to label here, so I have x sub 1, y sub 1, and then x sub 2, y sub 2. Okay, now plugging in these points into our formula, we have 3 minus our y sub 1, which is 5, and then our x sub 2 is 0, and then our y sub 1 is 4. So 3 minus 5 gives me -2, and 0 minus 4 gives me -4. Always remember to simplify. Now notice we have 2 negatives. What happens when we divide 2 negatives? It makes it a positive. And we can simplify 2/4 into 1/2. So our slope here is 1/2. Now, just like the last one, when we put it in point slope form, you can use either 4/5 or 0/3 for a final answer. Okay, so I'm going to show you both answers. And remember, when you do your homework, you have to just choose one. You don't need to do both of those, okay? So 4/5, so we have x sub 1, y sub 1. And I'm going to label the same thing for 0/3 because remember, we just used x sub 1 and y sub 1 in our formula. Okay, so if I use the 4/5, okay, how I'm going to do that is I have y minus, and then my y sub 1 is 5. My slope is 1/2. Then I have x minus our x sub 1, which is 4, minus 4. I don't need to simplify anymore, so this could be my final answer. Or you could have with 0/3. So I have y minus my y sub 1, which is 3, equals, once again, the slope stays the same. And then I have my x here. So I'm going to have my x minus 0, okay? Now you could simplify this because we could write it as y minus 3 equals 1/2, and we know x minus 0 just gives us x. So you could also write it like this if you need to. Okay? Okay, make sure you watch part 2. That's where we're going to be graphing in point slope form.